My wife cheated on me. 2 weeks later, she told him she loved him while we were still dividing our lives into cardboard boxes. Then she posted a photo of him holding my kids' hands. So I did something people say makes me the asshole. I messaged the woman my wife called her friend. We met, we clicked, and yes, we crossed that line. Now my soon-to-be ex is threatening court, the house, the savings, everything. And somehow I'm the villain? This is Drama Docket. Let me tell you everything. I'm a dad. I'm not flashy. I do school drop-offs. I pack lunches. I mow the lawn on Saturdays when the weather makes it easy to pretend life is simple. We weren't perfect, but I thought we were working on it. Date nights when we could afford them, therapy for a few months when we hit a wall, the kind of marriage you survive by choosing each other, even when it's boring. Then, one spring afternoon, my wife started inviting a mom and her kid over for playdates. The kids got along. The mom seemed kind, said she was single, recently separated. We all made small talk over juice boxes and coffee we pretended was better than it was. Nothing weird, nothing threatening. What I didn't know, while I was loading dishes and wiping fingerprints off the fridge, my wife was texting someone else. And not the mom from playdates either. It happened fast. I noticed my wife smiling at her phone more. New outfits, a kind of glitter in her voice that had nothing to do with me. One night she came home late, work emergency. 2 days later, the emergency had a name. I found messages, locations, photos that erased plausible deniability. When I confronted her, she didn't deny it. She told me she hadn't felt seen in a long time, that this guy made her feel alive, that she didn't plan it, but it just happened. We tried to talk. I was willing to try therapy again. She wasn't. Within 2 weeks of our separation, she called him her boyfriend. Then, and this one still stings, she told him she loved him. Weeks, not months, weeks. I found out because social media is a megaphone for people who want to be seen. There they were, my kids at a park, fingers laced with a stranger's, my son's smile, my daughter's pigtails, and a guy I'd never met playing weekend dad in my spot. If you've never had your family photo updated without you, it's hard to explain the kind of silence that follows. It's not quiet, it's suffocating. I moved into a short-term rental. Half a closet, one pan, a mattress that sounded like a grocery bag when you turned over. We still had to sell the house. 10 years of payments, memories, arguments baked into drywall, all reduced to an appraisal number. She started talking fast. New lease for her, new life for them, introducing the man she loves to our kids every other week. I swallowed my pride because the kids didn't pick this. Meanwhile, the mom from Playdates texted to check on the kids. She asked if I needed help with school info, pickups, normal parent stuff. Her messages were practical, kind. For a while, that's all they were. About 2 months after the split, I sent her a simple message. You seem like a good person. Want to grab coffee? No fireworks, no speeches, just 2 adults whose kids share a classroom and a nap schedule. We met in daylight, public cafe, no secrets. We talked about our kids, the ridiculous price of field trip t-shirts, and the weirdness of becoming single again while also packing snacks and signing permission slips. We laughed, not flirty, just human. The kind of laugh that reminds you your throat still works. And then the strangest thing happened. We didn't force it to be anything. We texted sometimes, we sent dog photos and homework memes. There was space to breathe because we both said we wouldn't be the kind of people who add more chaos to chaos. But feelings ignore rules. They build quietly in the places you thought were safe.
One evening, after a school event, we grabbed dinner. No kids, just 2 tired parents and a table that didn't have crayons on it. We talked about betrayal in vague, careful ways that protected privacy, and about how loneliness is louder when your house goes quiet at 8 p.m. She looked at me and said, I tried to ignore this. I said, "Me too." The truth hung there between us, warm and terrifying. We didn't rush. We didn't do the movie thing where you knock over a lamp. It was slower than that. It was a decision. Two people choosing connection in a life that had been ripped in half. The next morning, we agreed, we're not here to blow up more lives. We go slow. We keep the kids out of it. We act like adults. We tried to end it. We couldn't. So yes, I slept with the woman my wife had introduced as her friend. Not best friend, not maid of honor, not lifelong sister. A mom from the same classroom. A person my ex had known casually for months, nothing more. But in the narrative my ex would later build, friend grew teeth. Word gets around, not because we told anyone, but because my ex had people, and people love stories where they don't have to read the chapter on context. She called me a monster, told mutual friends I stole her friend. Meanwhile, she was spending every other week with the guy she cheated with, introducing him to our kids like a new family pilot episode. I swallowed it, for the kids, for the sale of the house, for the chance that we'd land this plane without crashing into court. Then she upped the ante. She threatened to force sell the house to the lowest bidder. 10 years of building equity, gone. The savings we hoped to set aside for our kids, wiped. Panic sat on my chest like a lead backpack. I started counting bills, cutting subscriptions, figuring out how to be broke and a good dad at the same time. And in the middle of all that, she stood in my doorway one afternoon and said, with zero irony, "You're the asshole."
Here's her version. I betrayed her with her friend out of spite. Here's mine. She detonated our marriage and installed a replacement dad before the dust settled. And when I tried to move on in a way that actually made emotional sense, she called it a crime. I get why people hate what I did. I'm not looking for applause. But I'm also not sure what rulebook says the cheater gets a moral monopoly. The woman and I, we kept it private. We didn't parade it online. We didn't rush the kids. We told ourselves if it ever touched their world, we'd stop. We never asked them to pick sides. My ex, she posted photos of my kids' hands in a stranger's palm. Caption, "New beginnings." Maybe she meant well. Maybe she wanted to convince herself this was a love story, not a demolition. I don't know. But when she called me the villain, it felt like being arrested by the person who set the fire. The mom, I'll call her Elle, texted my ex to be honest. She said she'd developed feelings for me and was trying to ignore them, but she couldn't keep lying by omission. Elle told her, "I'm sorry. I didn't plan this. I won't put the kids in the middle." It was a clean, adult message. My ex went nuclear. She threw around words like betrayal and homewrecker. Elle didn't fight. She said one line that stuck with me. "You wrecked your own home. We're just trying to live in what's left." Elle isn't perfect. I'm not perfect. But in a world where people weaponize the children, she kept choosing the softest option, the one with the least shrapnel. It wasn't the cheating, believe it or not. It was the speed. Saying, "I love you," to someone new while I was still figuring out which drawer held the forks and the rental. Watching a stranger's hand close around my kid's wrist in a photo pose meant for fathers. It felt like getting benched in a game you trained your whole life to play, and then being told you were unsportsmanlike for lacing up for a different team. Now lawyers circle. She threatens court orders, emergency sale, best interests of the children, phrases that turn your stomach into paper. I started documenting everything. Dates, exchanges, photos I never wanted to take, emails saved in a folder named just in case. I kept my texts boring on purpose. Pick up at 5. I'll bring the backpack. I stopped reacting to bait. I became the gray rock, dull, sturdy, impossible to escalate. Elle stayed steady. She told me, "If this ever hurts your kids, I'm out." In another universe, that sentence would break me. In this one, It made me respect her. Don't post your pain. The internet doesn't hug back. Keep the kids' world predictable. They didn't pick the plot twist. Document, but don't obsess. You can't save every screenshot, and your sanity too. And if you date again, date gently. The world does not need more wreckage.